Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. It's been a summertime tradition here in Billings for generations. Montana Fair 2020 is, as of now, still set to take place this August at the fairgrounds, but what it will entail if it does happen is still very much up in the air. In the meantime, Metro staff is busy prepping for the May 24th high school graduation ceremonies. Q2's Jay Cohn brings us a closer look.
The First Interstate Arena at Metro Park has been empty now for 8 weeks. An eerie silence, to say the least, especially for a place most of us associate with big crowds and lots of noise.
We haven't quite hit 8 weeks yet. It seems like 800 weeks if you're on our end of things, but it's only been about 8 weeks. That's where we've gone in Montana from case number 1 on the 13th of March to where we are today.
In just 12 days, the arena will open to the public for the first time since the pandemic shutdown, hosting high school graduation ceremonies for Billings Skyview, Senior, and West, with reserved seating for all ticket holders.
Seating will be twos and then skip two, and then skip two. Full rows like the one I'm sitting in right now will be empty between so that we can assure physical distancing on the part of people. They'll also receive masks when they come to the event. They will have temperature checks when they come to the event. So we're doing everything possible to make sure that when you come to the school district graduations for School District 2, that you're going to be safe. As safe as we can possibly make it. We can't wrap you in bubble wrap, but we're going to do the very best job we can.
Metro Park is also acquiring special backpack spray units so its staff can sanitize the entire arena in about an hour. Beyond graduation, Massey is focused on Montana Fair that starts August 7th. It's been happening in Billings every summer for the past 105 years. But Massey says this year they're working to take the fair back to its original roots.
We're really focusing on agriculture is essential, and fairs are essential to agriculture. So we're working to expand the ag footprint for this year's Montana Fair, and with 87 days to go, we're scrambling a little bit because, as you know, everything changes every day as far as this business is concerned.
And while Massey says there will be entertainment at this year's Montana Fair, no word yet on what that will entail. Night shows won't be happening, nor will there be any headline music. Speaking of music, 3 big concerts are set for the First Interstate Arena beginning this fall. Toby Keith in September, followed by Cher, then Luke Combs. But currently all those events are in limbo while health officials determine what is and isn't possible in this new COVID-19 world. In Billings, I'm Jay Cohn reporting for MTN News.
All right, thanks, Jay. And as for the carnival at this year's fair, Massey tells us he's been in contact with the carnival operator who believes they can make a go of it, even assuming that attendance will likely be less than half of normal. The final approval, however, rests with the county health officer. Well, several of the nation's top health experts testified before a Senate panel by video conference to discuss reopening the country today. Meanwhile, House Democrats have released a massive new stimulus proposal that some Senate Republicans say is dead on arrival. Skylar Henry is on Capitol Hill with the latest.
Dr. Anthony Fauci warned against reopening the country too soon as he and other top health officials appeared remotely before the Senate Health Committee.
There is a real risk that you will trigger an outbreak that you may not be able to control, which in fact, paradoxically, will set you back.
Officials say they're working to help states get the capabilities for more testing and contact tracing, and the CDC director says more guidelines for reopening states that the White House reportedly suppressed will be published soon.
As we work through the guidances, a number of them go for interagency review.
Dr. Fauci said a vaccine could be ready by late fall or early winter.
We have many candidates and hope to have multiple winners.
But the FDA commissioner, Dr. Stephen Hahn, could not guarantee an eventual vaccine would be available at no charge for all citizens.
Sir, the payment of vaccines is not a responsibility of FDA, but I'm glad to take this back to the task force.
House Democrats unveiled their new proposal for another massive coronavirus stimulus package. They're calling it the HEROES Act.
The measure includes funding to state and local governments, hazard pay for frontline healthcare workers, and additional direct payments for many Americans.
This is an historic challenge and therefore momentous opportunity for us to meet the needs of the American people.
This is not a time for aspirational legislation. This is a time for practical response to the coronavirus.
The House is scheduled to return to Washington Friday to debate and vote on the bill. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
All four health experts told the Senate panel when asked that they do not have a confrontational relationship with the president and that he does listen to their advice. Well, President Trump and Montana Governor Steve Bullock both pushing for large-scale testing of nursing home residents and staff. It's a vulnerable population. I talked to the head of St. John's United today. He says he's grateful for the protective measures that our state took early, but as you might guess, there are still plenty of concerns.
I was heartbroken and I was fearful.
That was David Trost, the president and CEO of St. John's United reaction when he began to see the devastating toll COVID-19 was starting to take on many nursing homes across the nation, including one in Toole County, Montana, where an outbreak is responsible for almost half of the deaths in the state so far.
Something similar to that could so easily happen within a community like ours. No matter how many precautions we put into place, we're only one staff person, one guest, one resident going out to a grocery store away from a cascading effect of multiple people getting infected.
In the couple of months since COVID-19 became a part of all our lives, multiple changes have been made to limit visitors and screen everyone coming onto the campus.
You know, for our residents, they've been really pretty darn fantastic. They have been patient with us. They've been supportive of all of our interventions. They have been extremely compliant in making sure that the community stays safe. Actually, the hardest it has been is for families and friends. They are struggling more with being separated from their loved ones here.
Guidelines have recently been put into place to allow for some outdoor visits, and soon testing will begin for everyone. A huge task with 600 residents at St. John's and 700 staff.
For us, our testing will be done in phases. We'll start with our staff. And those are the folks that are most at risk in terms of being out in the community. And then we'll move to our residents, and we will complete the governor's goal of trying to have all the testing done of our nursing home and assisted living by as close to the end of the month as possible.
Trost says they've been holding regular Zoom meetings with health officials and with other nursing homes and assisted living facilities in the area to figure out how they can help each other stay on top of this. Montana Senator Steve Daines said today that FEMA is coordinating a 14-day supply of personal protective gear, which will be shipped out to 15,000 nursing homes in the U.S., including Montana. Daines joined us from Washington to discuss the fast track to a vaccine and the impact coronavirus is having on Montana. He says we need to react to the science of fighting the disease, but not lose sight of the personal impact.
But I think we can't lose sight of the toll that's being taken on Montana and on Montanans with high levels of unemployment, the loss of jobs, the anxiety, the depression, increased alcohol and drug abuse, more domestic violence, more suicide. There is a price being paid from a health viewpoint as a result of staggering unemployment rates here in Montana. I mean, those numbers are something we've never, ever seen before. And to those families who are struggling with the loss of a job, we need to make sure we also see that in the full context as we're going forward here together to safely reopen our economy.
Daines also said he's encouraged by the work being done on a vaccine and hopes one or more are in production by the end of the year. Well, both of Montana's U.S. senators are rolling out what's being called a rancher relief program. It's designed to help hard-hit Montana cattle producers get better prices and markets for their products. Jon Tester is a co-sponsor of a bill to require large meat packers to buy at least half their cattle on the cash market. He's also pushing to include language in any upcoming coronavirus relief bills to allow Montana's meat processors to sell their product outside the state. Senator Daines is a co-sponsor of the first bill and also signed on to the second initiative. Daines says the measure will help strengthen the food supply chain and encourage transparency in pricing. Both senators are renewing a push to reinstate country of origin labeling for meat produced in America. They say the labeling, which is opposed by big meat packers, will help Montana ranchers.
You can look at me, I eat a lot of meat, and I'll tell you, if I knew it was coming from the United States versus Brazil or Argentina, I'm picking up that package that has made USA on it every time.
Tester and Daines hope there's enough bipartisan pressure on Senate leadership to take up the proposals. Well, the town of Lodgegrass is back under lockdown as the Lodgegrass mayor sends a strong message warning of dangers and threatening fines. Lodgegrass Mayor Quincy Dabney tells Q2 he's asking residents to only leave their homes for essential activities. This after a Lodgegrass resident tested positive for COVID-19 yesterday. Dabney says people can still go to work and businesses opened under Phase 1 can remain operational, but cruising the town and people moving between houses to visit friends is not allowed. Dabney tells us before the Lodgegrass case came to light, he was going to lessen his restrictions, but now he expects them to stay in place until at least the first week of June.
Basically starting our quarantine all over again. I just wanted to do that to really contain it. So before we didn't want it to come in, and so now we're trying to isolate it with the case that is now in our town and keep it there.
Dabney says Lodgegrass hasn't had a police force since 1997, so he's taken up enforcement of his orders using an education-first approach. Today, the state reports 2 more confirmed COVID-19 cases across Montana. There are just 19 active cases now of the 460 confirmed total. This map here does not reflect a Jefferson County case reported over the weekend. Jefferson County health officials tell us that the man has not been in Montana for several weeks now. All right, turning to Chief Forecaster Bob McGuire. And Bob, if folks' lawns have been needing a drink, we've got some rain in the forecast. Those models are looking like, huh?
Yeah, we've got several models we like to look at. And so let me show you the 5 that we use when we come to forecasting rainfall and stuff like that. And as here they are, they kind of listed up across the top there. And so what you'll see here, the first bottom 2, that's the RPM and the NAM. They're kind of just down on the bottom. We don't even count those right now because the ones that are actually starting to show some promise, I guess, is the ones that are right there in the middle, and that's what we're looking at. The ones in the middle, we like to choose the one in the middle, and that's, I think, the European model. So here's what our European model says we're going to see in the next several days. We're looking at maybe almost 69/100ths of an inch of rainfall for the Billings area. Livingston could see 87/100ths. Miles City could see also almost an inch of rainfall. So we're looking at some significant rain moving in here by the time Saturday gets here, and we'll have more about that coming your way in a few more minutes.
Thank you, Bob. Another legal setback for TC Energy, the Canadian company attempting to build the Keystone XL pipeline. In his ruling, Chief U.S. District Judge Brian Morris refused to change his April 15th ruling that canceled the Keystone's nationwide permit. The permit needed to allow dredging work on pipelines across water bodies. Morris ruled the Army Corps of Engineers did not consider the risks to endangered species and habitat in granting that permit back in 2017. The ruling does not block construction of the controversial Keystone XL, but will likely delay the $8 billion project even further. The pipeline to transport Canadian tar sands oil to Gulf Coast refineries has been pending since 2008. TC Energy says it does plan to appeal. Still to come on tonight's Q2 10 o'clock news, the latest into the investigation over the public posting of emails from Public Service Commissioner Roger Koopman. Plus, the lifting of the stay-at-home order has RV dealerships smiling. We're going to tell you why. And in sports, with just under 24 hours remaining, we're going to meet the male finalist for Montana's Athlete of the Year award.
You're watching MTN News with Janelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.